you. Good morning. Thank you for being here. And the only one who shouldn't be here, it's me. Not because I should be on another place, because I should be dead and buried 41 years ago. You look at me now, but this ordeal, this odyssey happened 41 years ago when internet didn't exist. Text messages, iPhones, or anything didn't exist. I survived on the worst place a human being can survive. And whatever I have achieved in my life, I have inherited one company and I created 3 more companies. I wouldn't have achieved that with what I have learned in the cold summits of the Andes Mountains. I was traveling to Chile from Montevideo with my rugby team, my mother, my sister, they were fans of my team. And we crashed in the middle of the Andes, and we survived on the worst place a human being can survive. You can survive on the desert, on a jungle, on the ocean with more chances. Climbers get up to the summits, and they get out of there as soon as they can. We survived there for 2.5 months at 14,000 feet with temperatures ranging to minus 35 degrees below zero without anything, nothing whatsoever. Why did we survive? Why? After speaking to some of the best universities in the world, business schools in the world, I discovered that we survived because we achieved excellence in all those things that you later learned in life. You know, how many times have you heard about teamwork, leadership, facing change, facing crisis, risk management, research, development, technology, innovation, creativity? We were excellent in each one of those, and we got the biggest prize of all, which is life. I survived with my friends on this worst environment, and I lost my mother, my sister, and my 4 best friends on the plane crash. All the leaders died, but then leaders have to appear, have to evolve from people that were absolutely average, like I was, into leadership. I will show you a little video of about 1.5 minutes where you will see the exact mountains where we crashed, and then we will go through some PowerPoint with pictures taken by National Geographic in 2006 that speak more than 1,000 words, and you will really grasp what happened to us. And if we are ever presented with a illness, economical problem, financial problem, relationship problem, you will remember me, because you will find the strength to weather that dark night and create your own version of a miracle, because I shouldn't be here. It's a miracle that I'm here. Can we roll the first video, please?
One of the greatest human survival stories of all time began on Friday, October 13th, 1972. When a charter plane carrying a rugby team from the South American country of Uruguay vanished over the remote, snow-covered Andes Mountains. For 72 days, the world thought they were dead. Nando Parrado was only 21 when he caught the plane, which was taking his team to play a rematch in Chile. Parrado was one of Uruguay's top rugby players, and his mother and sister went with him for the journey. The pilot had radioed that he was over Chile. It was a fatal navigational error. Believing he had already crossed the range, he descended into the clouds and emerged in the middle of the mountains. They had crashed at over 11,000 feet. At night, temperatures dropped to 30 degrees below zero. They couldn't survive on just a few bars of chocolate.
With a lot of happiness inside the airplane, and it's incredible how fast life can change from a zone of complete comfort, from complete safety, happiness, to something that you thought would never ever happen to you. Things that you read about on the newspapers, on books, but it never would happen to you. I was sitting on the middle of the airplane, on the aisle seat, and my friend Panchito hits me with his elbow and said, "Nando, look." And I looked, and about 100 meters away from the airplane, mixed with the clouds, a huge mountain went by. And I said, we cannot fly that close to the mountains. I looked to where my mother was, and it's incredible how many things you can record in your mind in the last tenth of a second of your life. This horrible metallic sound, and then the impact and complete blackness. I died. And as you can see here on this drawing, the plane hits the mountain with the belly, loses the wings, the engines, breaks in half, and it flies in the air because of the speed of the airplane, and it lands on the exactly same angle that the next mountain had. Had it landed with a different angle, it would have cartwheeled, somersaulted, and destroyed itself. But incredibly enough, the miracle is that of the 45 people on board, 29 survived the impact. And the plane slides down 2,000 meters from the side like a skier out of control, gaining speed, and at 220 miles an hour, stops in 1 meter against the glacier. And that's the worst impact, not the first one. It stops in the middle of the glacier, surrounded by mountains, completely surrounded by mountains, so that we didn't have any horizon. And you see the front part of the cockpit destroyed on the third impact. This kills the pilots, and happiness turns to silence and complete horror. Inside the airplane, 29 guys survived the impacts, and we were a team. We were a fantastic team. We had been playing rugby together since our school days, and we were a team. And the captain took in charge, 10, 15 minutes after the plane crashed, took charge, helping the wounded guys, taking the dead bodies from inside the airplane. But he took the biggest decision I've ever seen taken in my life. Every CEO I have seen speaks about biggest decisions. But Marcelo, he was 21 years old, he said, guys, we will be rescued tomorrow because it's 5:30. Helicopters do not fly at night in the mountains, so we will freeze tonight. So come on, guys, help me. And with the help of some of 6, 7 guys, he built a wall here with suitcases, pieces of the airplane, to keep the wind from coming in. But the helicopters didn't come the next day, or the second day, or the third day, or the fourth day. And then your mind, and I try to put images in your mind, starts to work on a different level. I look at you, I look at your eyes, and I know that less than 1/4 of you would have survived. Which ones? I don't know, unless you are there. Theory is one thing, the real thing is another thing. Would you have discovered flattering facets of your personality that you didn't know they existed inside you, and you would have survived? Or would you have collapsed in fear and died the most horrible death you can imagine? You don't know unless you are there. Helicopters didn't come on the 5th day, on the 6th day. My mother and my sister died on the plane crash. But your mind changes. Survival mode hits in your brain, goes inside your brain, and you cannot feel sorrow, you cannot cry. The conditions are so harsh that you have to fight for survival. Day 8, day 9, a week over there, and hey guys, could it be that they don't know where we are? So you start to get very afraid, very afraid, very afraid. And we asked the captain, Marcelo, where are the helicopters? Where are the helicopters? And he said, don't worry, guys. The helicopters cannot fly. We are very high up in the mountains. So they are sending help through the glaciers with crampons, equipment, expeditionaries. And it will take them maybe 2 or 3 more days to come here. But just in case, try to be there. Look for everything that's eatable on this airplane. And there was nothing. There was nothing. Just 2 chocolate tablets. And we were 29 guys alive. It's like being in Mars or the moon. There's nothing over there. Rocks, ice, and snow. Day 10 arrives. No help, no helicopters, nothing. We had a small transistor radio. We could listen to a shortwave station from Santiago. And that day in the morning, we heard the news program, and the journalist gave international news, local news, and then he said, and we also want to communicate to our listeners that the search for the Uruguayan plane with the All Christians rugby team has been abandoned. After searching for 10 days, there is no hope to find the wreckage of the plane because it snows, or the bodies, the snow covers all the debris. So the search has been stopped, and he said, the Andes never give back what they take. How would you have felt there? I felt so afraid. Some of the guys cried. some fell to the ground, embraced each other. We were condemned to die. And I thought on that minute, I remember clearly thinking, I don't want to die. I don't want these mountains to steal away from me my life. I will find love one day. I want to get married. I want to have a life, but I'm going to die. And all the leaders had died. And I said, I have to do something for my life. I have to do something, and I'll fight. I want to go back to my father and tell him how much I love him and that he hasn't lost his whole family. So that gave me a lot of boost. But the days kept going, 11, 12, 13. What happens? What happens? Your mind explodes inside that fuselage to something completely different. We had to survive. And thoughts creep into your mind. And I told the guys, look, guys, I want to get out of here, and we're going to die. There's only one way that we have to survive. We have to wait for the summer to arrive. It's 2 months away. We didn't have any clothes, no shoes, no jackets, nothing. Shirts like you have now. And we were at 14,000 feet. We have to eat. And the only thing that we have to eat are the dead bodies of our friends. And it's in those moments that you have to peel away from your body, from your soul, that thin veneer of civilized being that you have. And the survival instinct is in each one of you. When things go wrong, it starts. It's like a nap in your brain. It starts and it creates thought that you never thought you would have to think about. And things are revealed to you, and you will have to do things that will really take you to the core essence of you as a human being. Just imagine surviving there in that way, horrible hell. But 3 weeks after the plane crashed, at night, in a silence that, like you have never heard before in your life. Darkness, like you have never seen before in your life, a strange sound. It's an avalanche, and it hits the airplane. Hits the airplane with a strength that you cannot imagine, like a sea carrier in your chest. And the avalanche goes inside the airplane, buries the airplane by 3 yards, and it kills 8 of us. 8 are killed by the avalanche. And this is only 3 weeks after the plane crash. We still have 1.5 more months there, at least 2 months more. So what do we do? What do we do? We made a tunnel just to get out of there. And I remember I broke the surface like a rabbit, and I could walk on that snow, like on this stage, alone, a hole in the ground, and inside a fuselage with my friends, 8 of them dead. And you start to get weak and weak and weak and weak, and there's no water. You suffer thirst there as in the Sahara Desert. It's the same. You dehydrate 5 times faster than at sea level over there. So we ate snow and ice for 2.5 months. But then you get blisters inside your mouth, in your tongue, in your lips, and it hurts a lot. So no food, almost no water, but life goes on. Life goes on. And in this picture taken by National Geographic, you see exactly a place we were and the mountain that was exactly to the west. Why exactly to the west? Because we found a map on the plane, a map with a flight plan. And we said, look, guys, this is a flight plan. Okay, we made 1,000 calculations, 1,000. Each one of them gave us the same average, that we were about 5 to 8 miles away from a small town in Chile, from Curicó. We had in that equation speed of the airplane, direction, headwind, all those things. But one of the items on the equation was wrong, direction of the flight. Instead of flying west, the plane had flown south. So instead of being 5 to 8 miles away from Curicó, we were 90 miles away from Curicó. In our minds, we were there. And I said, guys, when the summer arrives, I'll climb to the top, and in the evening, I will be on the other side of the mountain in Curicó. So this takes weeks and weeks and weeks. After 2 months over there, I told one of my friends, with whom I got very well there, I'm afraid to go. Roberto, please come with me. Come with me. And he said, we're going to die anyway. So let's die trying. And on December 12th, after 2 months, we started to walk and climb. We didn't know how high was that. There are no mountains as high as that one in the whole of Europe. That's 18,000 feet over there in the middle of the Andes Mountains. We started to walk and climb. And we started to climb and climb and climb and climb and climb. This is the National Geographic climber. This is the top of the mountain that you were seeing. Until I reached there, the top, And Roberto says, do you see green? Do you see trees? Do you see houses? And the only thing I could look at was this. This is the exact top of the mountain. This was my view to the west, the exact view. And on that moment, with, strength of mind or survival instinct, I decided that I was not going to die there at the top of the mountain. And I said, Roberto, I'm going to walk, I'm going to climb. But at every step I will give, I will be closer to my Father. I will be closer to life. I want to live. And we had created a lot of things. Innovation at this stage is about apps, and I was listening with such interest about those things, Over there, they didn't exist. Our innovation, our creativity was related to snowshoes, sunglasses, things that we had to make our brains work on the same way that your brains work now, but creating physical things because we didn't know that the technology would be at this state now. But we created snowshoes, sunglasses, water-making machines, ropes, everything. From nothing, we created things that allowed us to reach that top. And then we kept going, and we kept going, and going through the valleys. You see one of the climbers there. It's huge. 10.5 days. 10.5 days walking, crashing. You can run the Ironman, and you can stop if you're tired. If you stop there, you're dead. Finally, 10.5 days after we started, we saw a peasant on the other side of a river. The peasant was the link to rescue to the helicopters. The helicopters came, they rescued us. I flew with them to rescue the other guys because they didn't know where they were. They took us to the hospital in San Fernando, in the southern part of Chile. From there to Santiago. From Santiago on a chartered plane back home in Montevideo. When I got there, my real ordeal started. My friends went back home. Their families embraced them. The ordeal was finished. I went back home. My mother was not there. My sister was not there. I embraced my father on an embrace that I still feel 41 years later. And I opened the window of my house and I said, Nando, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to have a life. I was blessed. I realized that I was blessed to have been given the chance to be born again. And I said, I won't destroy my life. I will have a life. And I started to work hard. I started to do my sports hard. And one day in Europe, I met a beautiful person and a beautiful girl. And I married her 1 week later. My decisions were fast. We have been married for 36 years. She gave me 2 beautiful girls, my daughters. And I worked hard. I became chapter chairman of YPO, Young Presidents Organization, WPO, Entrepreneur of the Year. I created my companies. I worked hard. But my father always told me, don't lose your connections, Nando. Don't lose your connections. Live your present. Live your present because it's the only real time. The past is already gone. The future has not arrived yet. It will arrive and you will cope with it like every human being since the history of mankind. So don't forget to live your present. The present is the most important time of your life. And I work hard, but I never jeopardized my family in order to obtain that. And 5 years ago, my 2 daughters asked me, Daddy, we want to go to that glacier because we were born there. Hadn't you fought in the way you fought, hadn't you suffered in the way you suffered, we wouldn't be alive. And we want to put flowers in the grave of your mother and your sister and your friends. So I made an expedition and I took them there. I took them to the mountain. I took them there. And that photograph, a friend of mine took it. It's me, my 2 daughters, and my wife looking at the first mountain that we climbed. That's the icon of my life. That represents my life. That represents my life. And, life goes on. Life goes on. And my biggest triumph is not my bank accounts, what I have achieved, my houses, my companies. It's not that. It's that I have achieved a family which I have dreamt of every single minute on that frozen fuselage. But then, 3 years ago, my granddaughter, Alexia, was born. I'm not a romantic. I'm more competitive than anybody here. I can assure you, I love material things more than anybody here. I love good clothes, good cars, be successful, flying first class. success on my companies more than anybody. I enjoy every day when I wake up. I try to be the best one, and I am blessed with breathing. That is something you should learn. So Alexio was born, and 4 weeks ago, Maximo was born, my grandson. And my biggest triumph will be one day that Maximo or Alexia say, we are alive because my grandfather crossed the Andes to give us life. And remember that life is not measured by the amounts of breaths that you take, but by those extraordinary moments that take your breath away. I read that and I love it. And those extraordinary moments are usually linked with love. Remember that, live your present, be good, be competitive, and thank you very much, because nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. That's very important. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.